You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, patrons, and welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg. You know, Gettysburg is an interesting place. It draws a lot of different people for various reasons, and we all, especially in the wintertime, when the tourists have gone away and we can kind of focus on life, just regular, real life, we bump into each other and get to know each other somehow. Or now, thanks to social media, things like Instagram and Facebook and the like, we get to discover people who we may never bump into in town, even though it's a small town. And you find these people. And one of those people is a man named Craig Rupp. And Craig does photography. He's got an Instagram page, Craig_Rupp. He's got a Facebook page, just Craig Rupp. That's R-U-P-P, by the way. And he takes these photographs of the battlefield. I love them because they're very dramatic, and he clearly has no problem getting up at the ass crack of dawn to take them, which I do have a problem with. So that's why when I was a photographer, all of my photographs were of the sunset. But anyway, Craig Rupp is with us today. Oh, he also does, he's also a novelist. Would that be author? Would you prefer author?
Novella. I get short stories.
Novellaist?
Yes.
He writes books, romance novels, novellas, based around or centered in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I invited Craig to come on. He's an interesting guy. We bumped into each other on the battlefield one time, had a brief conversation. But anyway, Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. You're our second guest in our new studio. And so that's some kind of a...
I like all the flags, and it's cool. I like the colors. My favorite, blue and black.
Blue and black. That's right. You know, got to get some kind of color in there. And then we're going to put gels over the lights so that we have a little, color on our faces when we get to doing video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it'll be interesting. But anyway, so let's talk about these novels. I think I first learned about them. A friend of mine bought one. And she's down in Miami.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And she bought one. I guess it must have been on Amazon or something, but I think she follows you on Instagram or Facebook or something. But somehow online she saw that you do them.
Okay.
And so she ordered, I think, one or two, maybe. I don't remember how many it was, but and she liked it. And so what, were you always a writer, or
No.
when did you get into doing that?
When I moved here about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And just come up with these ideas. The little things, like I give tours on the weekends. I don't charge. That way people can't complain. You get what you pay for.
They still will.
But they'll give me like little gifts, like just one of these. Somebody gave me a little frog, a little metal frog, and I came up with this book idea, or this little frog. And it had on it, "You will never be alone."
Okay.
And I just came up with an idea. Or, like you said, I love going out when it's sunrise.
Right.
And it's quiet. You know the feeling.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you get a lot of thoughts. And
I don't like to get up that early, but I have been out there that early, and it is nice. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, I can't sleep, so I'm usually up. Yeah.
So the frog. How did you go from the frog to writing romance?
I just come up with these ideas. Like I'll come up with a beginning and I'll come up with an ending. And then during the middle, I'm just along for the ride. It's kind of fun doing it that way. Yeah.
So, but you're a pretty big guy. You look like you work out or something. You're in decent shape there. Not the type of person you would think would write romance novels. What?
Well, thank you. Look, Gettysburg is not a dating mecca, so I live vicariously through these characters.
Yes. The most interesting people I meet in Gettysburg are not from Gettysburg, and they're usually here with their husbands. So, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's the type of crowd I'm trying to bring in here.
Good.
Gettysburg,
but without husbands, maybe next time. Try that.
Yeah. No, Gettysburg needs no help bringing tourists. History buffs the most.
Right.
But I'm just trying to bring a whole new crowd into. Through my novels, I like to show the beauty of this town. I work with people an hour from here who have never been here.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Here. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why haven't you? And they're like, what's there? Fields and monuments. And I tell them that it's a beautiful town. There's bed and breakfasts. There's great restaurants. A lot of businesses.
And don't you want to rattle people when they say something like that?
Yeah.
What is it? Just fields and monuments? It's just like, are you the most incurious person on the planet? Like, why?
Exactly.
Why you don't want to learn something? Why wouldn't you want to learn something?
Well, that's when you're reading. I actually throw history in there too.
Okay.
And so you're learning, but you don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it.
I will have people read my books and they'll want to come here to see the locations. Like
right.
I like to include actual locations, like Mr. G's Ice Cream, the Farnsworth House, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're learning.
Yeah. And then they want to come here and they'll go to those places. They'll see Mr. G's or the Farnsworth House or whatever from their favorite book. And they'll say, oh, wow, that's in the book. That's so cool. And all of a sudden now, even though it's a fiction that you've written around that place, it has a meaning to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like the ghost tours and what they do. As much as I can't stand them, I understand that what they're doing, it's bait on a hook. You're luring people in. They're more interested in the ghosts.
Right.
And maybe they're interested in the ghosts from a faraway time. And so that's why they come here and they're, whatever. But accidentally they're learning some history.
Right, right.
And the problem is that they think that they're learning history, period. And there's no caveat to it. And then I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've been in a bar back in my going to bar days. I would go to a bar, whatever, Friday, Saturday after work or whatever, not necessarily even with anybody. I would just go. And inevitably I would sit at the bar. Within an hour, I'm talking to somebody who's sitting there too. And, they're from wherever. And we get, we love the history. We love coming here and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then, getting into talking about the history a little bit. And then they'll say something so outrageous. Like, something like, well, I heard that because they wouldn't let the Confederates in the National Cemetery, that there's a mass grave of Confederates under Steinway Avenue or some nonsense like that. Yeah, I'm quasi making that up. And I'll go, what? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I heard that on the tour. The guide told us that. And now in the world I operate in, when I hear the guide, I think a licensed battlefield guide.
Right.
So I go, a guide told you that? And they're like, yeah, on the tour last night. And I go, last night? And they, yeah. And I said, was this guide wearing like a light blue shirt and a patch? And she said, no, she was dressed in an old 19th century dress.
Carrying a lantern.
Yeah. And I go, oh, that kind of a guide. And I was like, that's a ghost tour that you were on. You were on a ghost tour? She goes, yeah. And I go, well, that's not frickin' history. Like those people aren't historians. They're not, so, but I know that there's other people who have honestly made an attempt to learn history based on their interest in ghosts and what they, pick up from doing ghost tours or reading these books. And then they actually do get into the history. So it does work both ways and stuff. But Anyway, so is there a thing like when you write these novels, is there a specific, do you have like the same formula for each one, or how do you like to do them?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same formula. I'll come up with the beginning and then I'll know the ending. Sometimes that'll change a little bit because like I said, I have no idea what's going to happen to them throughout the story.
So you kind of just make it up as you go.
Right. And it's a fun little ride with them, because.
Do you base your characters on people you know?
Actually, yes. A few in my book are actual business owners here.
Okay.
And it's really cool when I'm showing people around on the weekend. Like I'll go to Mr. G's, let's say, Mike is a character in the book. He owns Mr. G's, and I'll introduce him, and they'll say something like, man, that guy was so nice. He reminds me of the guy in the book. And I'm like, that was the guy in the book. And they're like, really?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, yeah. So, do you get, who's your target audience for these novels?
Obviously not men.
Why is that obvious?
Anybody, really. Basically, you can read my books in an hour or two, depending on how fast you want to read. Mm-hmm. I write them for plane rides, car rides, just to get lost for a little bit.
Okay.
I personally...
But you don't condone reading while you're driving. You're talking about the passenger.
The passenger, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Just want to make sure.
Do not read,
Do not read and drive.
No.
Reading and driving can kill a friendship. Go ahead.
Where was I?
I have no idea. We were talking about what the hell were we talking about now?
Novellas.
Oh, novella. Yeah. Oh, being quick reading.
Yeah. Some people, I say it's too fast paced for my writing. But
what do you mean?
Like the characters might fall in love too quick.
Oh, okay. You don't take enough time to develop them, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't want to drag it out. Like my editor on a few of my books, I'm like, should I make it longer? She goes, no, just leave it.
Because the type of book you're doing, that's the way you do it. Yeah.
Don't change your style and don't drag it out, because they're going to put it down.
Yeah.
If you start to make it boring, trying to drag it out.
Right. It's not like you're not writing Moby Dick. You don't need a whole chapter on the rigging on a sailboat.
No.
Yeah.
No. A lot of people, I'll get messages. They'll say, damn you, I was going to go to bed at 10. I like to finish my chapters like on a cliffhanger, so they have to
turn the page. Yeah.
Like, man, I was up for another hour.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Does that make that makes you feel good when you hear that?
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I read it. It took me a couple of weeks, but it was pretty good.
I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that hate him too. So, but you know what? You can't please everybody. Everybody doesn't like the same kind of music, TV shows.
Right.
I write what I write.
But the people that do like it, obviously it pleases them and they're happy with it and all that. But so yeah, when they let you know those things, does it make you feel uncomfortable at all? Because like we were talking out in the parking lot, it makes me and Eric feel uncomfortable when people praise us. I mean, we love it, don't stop. Very much so. But yeah.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm not deserving.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't really do anything, just doing what I like to do.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's still a nice feeling.
It is a nice feeling.
Because here's the weird thing about creative people or artists or whatever you want to call them. They love to do it. It's what they do. It's like a fish swims and an artist does art, or a creative person creates. And then it's not like, for people that aren't that way, to them it seems like a conscious decision to do that, right? Like they think if I were to do that, I would have to, consciously decide to take up painting or writing or whatever it may be. Whereas we're just like, I paint, I write, I make podcasts, I take photographs. This is what I do. It's a conscious decision for me to not do it and go to my job. Right? Like I have to, that's the work. It's not work to do this.
No.
It is. It is, but it doesn't feel like it.
It's more time consuming than work.
Yes. And it's more exhausting. Like I worked in a construction company for a while once, and, up at 4:00 in the morning, out in the elements all day long and everything like that. And I would come home like tired. But when we're like doing this stuff and, editing and all that other stuff, it's just, when I'm finished, I'm exhausted. Like it's just exhausting to me. But because I love to do it, there's so many things going on inside me while this is happening that it's not, it's a full body experience as opposed to some other job.
Exactly.
It's not a full body experience.
Doing what you love.
You're forcing yourself to do it. Yeah, but this you don't have to force yourself to do.
No.
So it's nice when people are complimentary and it resonates with them, because then it doesn't make you feel so crazy, because it's like, okay, I'm not the only one who thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just finished a book this week called Eternally Yours. But my last book.
To hear more of this and other great interviews, go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg and help support the show. We thank you in advance.